I know at this point there have been a few movies that had part ones and part twos of their final chapters. You have the Twilight series, you have the Avengers series with Infinity War and Endgame could be considered part one and part two of Avengers 3. I'm not sure if the Hunger Games needed part one and part two for the Mockingjay storyline. I haven't finished this series. I remember watching this movie back in 2016 and severely disappointed at the ending of this one and how this movie played out, that I was just like, I'm done. And I haven't finished the Hunger Games movie series. This is my journey going back to finishing it. And when you get such a great sequel like Catching Fire to drop off to this one, it makes sense why people were disappointed with this movie. It makes sense when you watch it, you're like, what are we missing here? And on this episode of Movie Breakdowns, I'm going to review Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1. What's up, world? Welcome to another episode of Movie Breakdowns. I'm your host, Ali Zakka. Before I get started, if the review want me to do, let me know. Please put in the comment section below and I get to as best I can. Also, Patreon.com/Ali-Zakka for 2001. Get the cut in front of everybody, get your review out way before it come out on Facebook and YouTube. Also get other stuff on there like trailer reaction, trailer reviews, other content. Go on the Patreon. Now, let's go ahead and get into today's episode of The Hunger Games, Mockingjay Part 1. And this movie came out in 2014. And I didn't get to it 2016 when I first watched it on the first viewing. And thinking of my opener, also the Deathly Hallows Harry Potter movie had part 1 and part 2. And I loved part 1 of that Harry Potter series. The books, the 7th book, I love part 1 as a movie. And part 2 was just a climactic battle at the end of it all. I have not seen the part 2 of Mockingjay, so I do not know how this is going to play out. I'm going to watch it to finish this series review. But part 1 here, I get it's a setup phase, it's a setup book, or a setup part of the movies of this book, but it really felt like it dropped the ball for me. So what is part 1 about? Well, part 1 is about the repercussions of Catching Fire. At the end of Catching Fire, Katniss shot the arena and set it on fire, and then the rebels came and saved her. Well, she wakes up after experiencing what was all going on, the had like a pretty much PTSD moment. She wakes up, finds herself in District 13 that survived. Her home district, District 12, is destroyed, like gone. And Katniss really just don't know what to do at this point. She's kind of a little bit lost, but she knows she needs to save Peter, who's been captured by the Capitol. They have him captured, and he's been talking as a figurehead for the Capitol. Well, District 13 and the rebels, they need a figurehead of their own, and they don't want to make Katniss as their Mockingjay. But Katniss doesn't want to be the symbol of revolution. She just really wants to save her friends. And as this movie progresses, you can see the whole marketing behind making Katniss the face of the revolution, the face of the rebellion, and her reluctancy to really do that, become that face, but at the same time she wants to save her friends, so she's in it to save her friends and same time stop the Capitol. So this is her stepping into the shoes of being the Mockingjay, to be the face of the rebellion and the revolt. And parts of this movie, there's some good parts and there's some bad parts. This movie's 2 hours and 3 minutes long. It's actually the shortest of the movies, but it felt like the longest. And maybe because they dragged out parts, maybe because they dragged out scenes. Like, I remember this when I watched it the first time. I do remember Peter looking like he hasn't ate for a while and look really like he's been starving. I do remember his images of his face, and I remember her being out in battle at one point. And I remember Natalie Dorman. That's what I remember in this movie. I didn't remember anything else, and rewatching it, I was just like, it's fine, it's okay. The acting is still great. The actors in this movie are going on 110%. Good for them. The CGI and the special effects in this movie is still good. The camera angles are solid. It just, the story of this one just seems to die off, and maybe because the first two movies been so action packed that this movie right here just been like, we're coasting. It feels like as far as the movie goes, like you have some little bits of things happen to move the story along, but even the non-action parts, or the parts where characters put to talk to each other and be more dramatic and more the intensity and tension plus the reach and plus to make the audience feel like, oh my gosh, this is about to happen. Those scenes don't really pay off. It feels like it just seems like this movie was just an average movie that just was getting by until we get to part two. And there are bits and pieces in this movie that are really good, and there's bits and pieces in the movie that kind of like just dragged out. Like, all right, just more talking. It's not really tension. It's just we're kind of just hanging out, talking. There's a plot here where Gale and Katniss have some talking points about romance, but we already know this. We already know how they feel about each other. Okay, talking. Oh, Peter's finally gets on TV and say, please stop this, don't do it. Okay. He's not a rebel, but people call him a traitor. He's like, and Katniss like, no, he's not a traitor, and she's not convince people. But it just seems like a really dry movie for the most part. And things happen. It just, I don't know, maybe things you don't care about. Like, for example, there's a new lady, like Madam President, that shows up, and she's the head of the rebellion, and it's not really much about her. She's just a figurehead kind of character. Like, she's the leader, and she's like, you know what? We're not backing down. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. And you're just like, okay, cool. Why do I care about you? And still, I watch the movie, like, why do I care for her? Like, I don't care for her at all. She's just there. She's the leader of the rebellion that Katniss has to try to convince on her side. Like, I don't know. It just seemed like a very okay movie. And that's fine. That is fine. All right, let's go and get into cast, directors, and actors and actresses. So you have the movie came out 2014, The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1. The director is Francis Lawrence, who's been directing the other two movies. Writer Peter Craig, or screenplay. Danny Shaw on screenplay, and then Suzanne Collins, who made the book. The cast, you have Jennifer Lawrence play Katniss Everdeen. Jennifer Lawrence is great, solid. Josh Hutcherson, who plays Peter, great, solid. Liam Hemsworth, who plays Gale. This is Liam Hemsworth, more of a bigger role in this movie. He's like one of the main guys in the rebellion. It's good. Woody Harrelson, solid as well as Haymitch. Donald Sutherland, who played President Snow, amazing, good for him. Philip Seymour Hoffman, who played Blorich Heresby, he passes away, I believe, during the making of this movie. He was good. Julianne Moore, who played President Coin, she's fine. She's good. Willow Shields, who played Primrose, good for her. She did a good job. Elizabeth Banks, Effie Trinket, solid. Sam Claflin, who played Finnick Odour, I thought he was such a cool character, good charisma in the second movie. In this one, he's just kind of like off on his own. He's around, but he doesn't really do much in this movie. Mahershala Ali, which threw me off when I watched this movie. Like, Mahershala Ali's in this movie. Like, I watched this before. I did not know this. But he played Boggs. He did a good job. He was solid. And that's pretty much it. Natalie Dormer, who plays Cressida, she was fine. Like, I thought she had a bigger part in this movie, but she didn't actually. I just remember her in this movie maybe because I watched Game of Thrones, and she's huge in Game of Thrones. I was like, oh, that's the girl from The Hunger Games. She's fine. Like, the cast is not bad. The acting in this movie is solid. It's just the story in this movie doesn't really hold up, and I feel like it dragged out versus the other two movies had a good pacing. This movie's pacing is really slower and longer. Any other thoughts? Not really. It's okay movie. Like, I think if you watch the first two, you're going to be disappointed by this one, but you watch this one first, you can't really do that, actually. There's no way to watch this one first. You have to watch the storyline to get to it, and this one was just fine. It was just fine. Is it a Friday night movie? No, it's not. Grading time. I'm going to grade The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1. I'm going to give this movie a C-. The movie gets 70% for me. It's fine. It's It's good. Matter of fact, I'm gonna give it a C. Not a C minus. I'm gonna give this movie a C. This gives it a 75% because the acting's not bad, the CGI's not bad. It's just a story that hurts this movie, and I feel like it's just an average movie. So it actually gets a 75%, a C for me, not a C minus. I'll bump this up. It's a C. So 70, instead of C minus. IMDb gives this movie a 6.6 out of 10. That is a D. Rotten Tomatoes gives this movie a 69%, which is a D+. And the audience themselves give this movie a 71%, which is C minus. So my first initial thought of this movie being a C minus. I was like, I'm gonna give this movie a C minus. It's fine, but the acting in this movie is so good. I bumped up to a C, 75% instead of 70%. So yeah, this movie definitely gets a C from me. If you've seen The Mockingjay Part 1, what did you think? Please put in the comment section below. Other than that, see you guys next episode of Movie Breakdowns, and keep being awesome. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. I really appreciate that. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. If there's a review you want me to watch or do, let me know. Please put it in the comment section below this video. Also, you want to watch the last episode of Movie Breakdowns, it's right there. Just gotta click on it and you'll be able to watch it. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Love y'all, and keep being awesome.